Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for this week's playoff edition of Inside the Zone. And the Komets, Blake, are on the cusp of advancing and beating the Toledo Walleye right now. 3-2 thanks to a big win Saturday night in Toledo. Blake Sebring, as always, of the News Sentinel, joining us. And Blake, we've got Game 6 at the Coliseum Tuesday night. If it goes to a Game 7 in Toledo on Wednesday night, what do you foresee in Game 6 that has you thinking positively that the Komets can put this thing in the bag in Game 6 on Tuesday?
Well, one thing I see is that the fans cannot take this game for granted. They cannot say coming in, oh, we're just going to here for the celebration. That is not going to work. This is Toledo-Fort Wayne. Anything can still happen, as this series has proven again and again and again. It'll come down to the forecheck. Do the Komets forecheck like they did Saturday night? Then they'll have a great chance. Does the goaltending continue to hold up? Do they continue to keep Toledo off the scoreboard on the penalty kill? They'll have a great chance. But the way that's been interesting about this series is every game has been its own unique entity because the coaches are making adjustments from game to game. Now, you know Toledo's going to come out with a better option on the power play against the Komets penalty kill because the Komets put 4 guys on the blue line in the last game, and then they didn't let Toledo get into the zone, so they very rarely got to get set up. So Toledo will have a counter for that this time. They'll try to come up with another counter for the forecheck too. It'll just be interesting to see how these teams adjust.
Yeah, just throwing out some numbers. We've harped on all season the Komets penalty kill, how it hasn't been as effective as you'd like, but the last 2 games, they've held Toledo to 1 for 14 on Toledo's power play.
2 for 21 over the last 3. That's
amazing. How have they been able to flip the script there and be more effective on that penalty kill? What's been the key?
They've changed their strategy. They have used to be they'd always have the 1 guy forechecking and then 3 guys on the blue line trying to tilt to a side so where they dump it in and then they could hold them up and then maybe beat them to the puck. Well, now they went with 4 guys on the blue line with no forecheck. They all kind of slid back in, and then Toledo absolutely hates to dump and chase. They would rather cut off their own leg than try that, and well, that's leading to a lot of turnovers in the neutral zone then, and they can't get into the zone as effectively. Another thing is the Komets have figured out how there's always a weak side pass, usually at a Birschbach. Somebody carries it in on the offside, and then they get it over to Birschbach, and then the Komets have been cutting that off too. So that's really created problems for them.
On the flip side, the Komets the Komets power play has been fairly effective. They've made some interesting changes. They're 2-7 on the power play in the last 2 games, and using some different bodies up front. Tell us about that.
Well, Cody went out. The second power play, they treated it just like a normal power play, the first power play. Then the second power play, they sent Cody out to play the spot for Dan Maggio because he was suspended for the game. And you could see Cody was smiling the whole time. He's like, yeah, I get to mess with somebody, you know what I mean? And so they had him and Garrett out there together. Well, that led to Garrett's rebound goal because they couldn't leave Cody.
Right.
And so that kind of gave Garrett an opening to get to the rebound. And it made it awfully difficult for Pat Nagel to see around both of them. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah, big bodies. As far as Michael Hauser goes, the guy's been fantastic, specifically the last 2 games. He's given up a goal apiece in the last 2 games. You're talking 76 out of 78 saves made. So what have you seen from Michael Hauser? And we talk all the time in the playoffs about goaltending. Goaltending is tantamount. It's very important in the postseason, more so than the regular season. How has he stepped up to the challenge, and what have you seen from him that has this team confident playing in front of him going forward?
A few things. The Komets' forecheck has been so effective that and Toledo, like I said, hates to dump and chase. So when they do get it over the line, they're just letting fly from wherever, okay? And usually that's outside. Hauser sees it, no problem. Right. Blockers it to the other side. Defense takes it, and they're gone, okay? The other thing is he's up in his crease, okay? They haven't been able to get as many guys in front, so they're not forcing him back on his goal line because they haven't had the puck control in the Komet zone. So he's been able to come out more to challenge more shooters. And the other thing is he's anticipating where they're going. He's gotten his, as you go along against these guys longer and longer, the more you know them, he is anticipating where they're going to be shooting from. So he's quicker to get side to side sometimes. Like everybody knows Birschbach's going to shoot from the half wall. I mean, he's going to shoot there every time. That's his favorite spot. As soon as he gets it, he's going to one-time it. Well, there's been a couple times where Hauser's been waiting for him, on the shot. Even though he had to slide side to side.
When you take a look at players that are playing well, we mentioned Michael Hauser. Gabriel Desjardins has been fantastic. You're talking, he's got 14 points. He leads the ECHL in points in the postseason, plus 10. What is it about his game that has allowed him to shine here in the postseason?
It's his speed and his work ethic. I mean, he's so fast, and he works so hard on the forecheck that he's creating the opportunities, and that's where it's coming from. And plus, he can take off at a moment's notice, and he's had a couple breakaway chances, too. That's shorthanded. He got a shorthanded goal, I think it was in Game 3, that was critical, or Game 4. And he's just a threat every time he's on the ice, and they're all like, okay, where is he, where is he, where is he? And he's still finding ways to be effective.
The play of Justin McDonald, it's kind of been a nice surprise. Tell us about what he's been able to go through, because he's had a very interesting season leading up to this point.
Justin has bounced all over the place, but the one advantage he had is that he played for Gary Graham in Pensacola 5 years ago. So Gary knew him, and he'd always wanted him, but he couldn't get him because he'd already been called up to somebody else already. Well, one time during the season in January, the Komets were way shorthanded, and he had just gotten released by Adirondack and was driving back to Evansville where he was playing, and Gary intercepted him halfway and says, hey, make a U-turn here, you know? And he came in and played, and he played like, I don't want to say 28 games, 33 games for the Komets this year.
28 really, sounds right.
He really made an impact, and it wasn't with his offense as much as his defense. And he would have been the most valuable player in Saturday night's game, even if he hadn't scored the goal that put him up 3-zip, because he was such a good job on the forechecking. He was one of the keys, I felt. Like, Toledo would bring the puck or attempt to bring the puck in the zone, and then he or somebody else or went out of my head, you know, or Bobby Shea or those guys would tip the puck at the blue line, and then there's offside. They must have had a dozen offside.
Really?
Just because of that, where they were trying to get into the zone, and somebody would just deflect the puck enough with their stick to slow it down, and they're trying to jump in. I mean, that drove them crazy.
When you take a look at some of the numbers, I actually got this from your article, the Komets since 2000, 25-6 when playing in a playoff game that they can eliminate their opponent.
Yeah.
What has been the key, I guess, maybe over that, and what can we learn from that as the Komets go forward and try to eliminate, you know, obviously the coaches have changed, the players have changed a lot, but what has there been a theme, I guess you would say, over the 25-6?
I mean, I think it's goaltending. I mean, you look at that, that's Tommy Lawson, that's Nick Boucher, you know, that's some really great goaltenders. Kevin St. Pierre, you know, those are some great goaltenders who rise to the occasion and play in the moment. And they dominate those. And the other thing is they seem to get up early. That's going to be a key. The Komets scored first Saturday night for the first time in the series, and you could tell right away the difference it made in their game plan and in Toledo's game plan. So that could be another big factor.
That's what I was going to lead into, is what are your keys for Game 6? Komets don't want to go back to the Huntington Center. They don't have maybe there's not the bugaboo of playing. No. They've kind of exercised those demons this year. But you'd rather take care of business at home, get an extra day to rest. I imagine they want to take care of business on Tuesday night in front of a home crowd as well.
But nothing would surprise you in this series. I mean,
true.
I mean, the Komets have won 4 games in the Huntington Center this year, which is like you'd think the lightning's coming from the sky over there. You know, I mean, that's unbelievable. And it's gonna be their forecheck. It's gonna be the simple stuff. It's gonna be their forecheck. It's gonna be staying out of the penalty box. You can't give Toledo 8 chances again. They're too smart. I mean, you just can't. You're not gonna get away with that again. And it's going to be face-offs again, just like always. I mean, that was what was most remarkable about Justin McDonald, is he came out and held his own against A.J. Jinks, who's been killing the Komets on the face-offs the whole series. So it'll be interesting to see who fits where in the lineup, because Dan Maggio's coming back. Now, does that mean you take Artie out again? Or do you take – I don't think you take McDonald out after what he played.
Playing too well, right.
You know, I mean, he's doing great. But there's not a whole lot of options there that, you know, you almost have to, it's going to have to be Artie maybe, because you can't really take a center out, you know, and that's, you're hard enough up at center then. Now, does Martineau play? He wants to, but we'll see. We'll see if he's really able.
When you take a look at the beginning of this series, you were saying you thought it would go 7. Do you still think it'll go 7?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. And it wouldn't surprise me to see the Komets win Game 7 in Huntington Center. Anything can happen in this series. I think that's been proven again and again. I mean, these two teams know each other so well. It's like, who gets the bounces? Who works hard enough to get the bounces that makes the difference? I mean, and that's really the biggest thing because they are both so technically sound. They know each other so well. They know what the other guy's going to do.
And Gary and Dan have
my God,
a lot of experience against each other and just good coaching.
And they've had
an
extra day now to sit there and plot too. I mean,
the plot
the mad scientists are going to work.
What are you most looking forward to about Game 6 on Tuesday night?
I want to see what the crowd is.
Yeah.
I mean, the Coliseum the box office was closed Sunday. That didn't help the Komets at all. And so, Saturday was open for a little bit, and you weren't assured of a Game 6.
Sure.
You were assured of a Game 6, but it was only open a little bit. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what kind of walk-up crowd they had, and it is a school night and all that. There's all that stuff. It'll be interesting to see how vocal and involved the crowd is.
All right. Well, we will definitely have it recap for you next Monday here on Inside the Zone. But for Blake, I'm Glenn. We'll see you next Monday.